Another thing that's very important to keep in mind as you're editing your story is how you're releasing information. You need to be always releasing new information. And let me show you an example of that. When we start his story.
And I would go in early and I would stay late. And it was so easy because I was a pastor of a church to say, you know, this is the most important thing anybody could be doing. It's the work of God.
Okay, we let the audience know that Lee is the pastor of a church. Now, we didn't take the time for him to say, hello, my name is Lee, and I'm the pastor of a church. We used a comment, this comment right here.
And it was so easy because I was a pastor of a church to say, you know, this is the most important thing anybody could be doing.
So he's actually talking kind of about something else, but you're cluing in the audience that he is the pastor of a church while you're continuing to move the story forward. So we try to continually be giving out new information to keep the audience engaged. So the next objective that we're trying to create in this edit is we want to create empathy for our main character. For Lee, this was a little tricky because what Lee did not only hurt himself, but it hurt so many people around him. There was so much collateral damage to his failure. And so that's a little harder to create empathy for. And so really the only thing we had to work with was remorse. He was intensely remorseful for what he did. And that's one of the reasons also why we chose to put the clips we did at the very beginning right there. We wanted the audience to know from the very beginning that this was something he was remorseful of. The reason we create empathy is we want that audience to be rooting for our main character. We want that victory at the end to be, yes, oh, I'm so glad that God did this in their life. We don't want them to be watching this going, why didn't God destroy them? You know, it's like we want to be rooting for our character. So Lee wasn't like a great example of this. His was a little tricky, but there's an example in the movie Finding Nemo that I think is really fitting. The father of Nemo, his name is Marlin, and they start the whole movie by showing this evil fish come and eat all of, Marlin's children. It's this terrible, awful scene, and there's the one child that makes it out alive, and that's Nemo. And so we see through the movie that Marlin is this overbearing, overprotective father, but you understand where it's coming from. You understand that, okay, it's because of these things that have happened in the past that he's feeling all this fear to not kind of let Nemo do whatever he wants to do. Now, how this translates into the church world is, maybe a story of someone who might be an alcoholic. Instead of just harping on the fact that they, are addicted to alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, go deeper. Let's find out why they turned to alcohol. And this is, again, what the story structure is all about. There's something that happened in their life where they made a decision to turn towards alcohol. They weren't just inherently bad. So those types of things, if we can show, hey, this person, maybe someone close to them died and they didn't want to feel that pain anymore. And so they turned to alcohol to numb that pain. Suddenly now I have more empathy for someone who might be engaging in self-destructive behavior or selfish behavior because you see it now that they're in pain and they're trying to numb that pain. So create empathy for your main character, and it'll create a much more heartfelt connection with your audience. The next objective is all about condensing your clips. This is a huge part of editing, is getting rid of all of those things that don't need to be there. And that can be hard to manage sometimes. There's sometimes where people say things and it's a great statement, but they've kind of already said that in a previous statement. So you have to make these determinations on which clip should stay and which clip should go. What I'm trying to do is condense the story into its most simplest form. What I want to take away so much stuff to the point where I go, well, I can't take any more away. It's not about adding more things to the story. It's about how much can I remove and it still be an amazing story. So here's a clip that I want to show you kind of what this looks like. Like how do I condense a clip down? In this clip, Lee is talking about when he first got up to the mountain. And when he goes through what he says, you think, oh, this is interesting information. But when you really get into it, the whole clip can be kind of condensed down into just like 2 statements and saving a bunch of time. So let's watch it.
So we made the climb, and it was an incredible climb, and we made the summit. And the guys that I was with, they knew what was going on with me, and they said, we're going to step off the summit. It was 300-400 yards away. Couldn't see me. I couldn't see them. They said, take the time that you need. And I remember standing up there by myself and just saying, God, I can't fix this.
All right, so it's an interesting clip. I mean, what he's talking about is, getting to the top of the mountain and the guys kind of giving him a chance to have a moment there on the mountain. That's really cool. But when you get down into it, it really doesn't need to be there. So what I did, this is what's actually in the story. So check this out.
We made the summit, and I remember standing up there by myself and just saying, God, I can't fix this if you don't rest.
Okay, so that whole big statement that's about, 30 seconds long can be reduced down into this statement.
We made the summit.
We made the summit. That's all I really need to know for this story to work, is that he got to the top of the mountain. We made the summit. And that's what it looks like to condense down your story. So you're going through these clips going, okay, does this really need to be there? And is this information necessary? And you're making those cuts and tightening your story. Okay, so another way to add tension and intrigue is through the pacing of the story. And what I mean by that is the pace at which they're speaking. Now, a lot of times you're interviewing people that have no kind of concept of speaking in a dramatic way. Like they don't know how to kind of control their voice in a way that when they're talking about something that's very dramatic or very heavy, they might say it in kind of a flippant way, or they might say it in a way that doesn't have the drama that you're looking for. One of the things you can do to kind of help people with that is in the edit, you can slow down what they say by creating pauses in between their statements. Now, Lee is actually really good at this naturally. Like he knows how to kind of put some drama in his voice at key times. But even in this situation, we were able to help him create a little bit more drama. So I'm going to play a couple of clips. The first time I'm going to play it, it'll show you what it sounds like without a space, without any kind of pause. And then I'll show it again here with the space, and you can feel how much more dramatic it is with a space there.
I could not have injured my wife at a more vulnerable place than what I did, man. She's reminded every time she looks at me that I betrayed her.
So that was without a pause. Now here it is with a pause.
I could not have injured my wife at a more vulnerable place than what I did, man. She's reminded every time she looks at me that I betrayed her.
Right. So throughout your edit, and actually I'm even going to show you what our edit looks like. You'll see all of these pauses. You'll see all these places where we're just trying to control the pace of the story. We're trying to control the pace at which the information is coming at you. So this should all flow with the music, and really you're just trying to kind of control the drama in the story.